There was a tweet that you tweeted, I think it was last week, but it kind of goes with this. And it actually was something that I wanted to ask you about. And you said, you guys ever play capture the flag and feel yourself making moves and reacting in ways you've never done before? I believe this has legit implications for ball handling training. And so this is like, I kind of want to get your your thoughts on this, because I definitely have my own, but I think this also goes back to like this whole, and it's so funny because it's like a whole wormhole you can go down where like it starts with like, oh, it's just bad. Like, okay, I want to get better at basketball. Well, what does that actually entail? And what can you actually do to move yourself in the right direction? What matters, right? So kind of talking about how, those other games, other sports, working other movements. How do you see that kind of impacting basketball players specifically?
Yeah, so that's one thing that Cole has been talking about a lot on his Instagram. For anybody that's not familiar, it's By Any Means Basketball, and he's talking about getting understanding the individual puzzle pieces that go into forming the whole puzzle. These could be physical qualities, or perceptual cognitive abilities. Anything that encompasses a skill that we can pretty easily define. So like if we talk about ball handling, since you mentioned ball handling in my tweet, we could be talking about, it's so many different things. Ankle mobility, hip mobility. These are physical qualities. Being able to produce force horizontally. So being able to access, steep shin angles. There are all these physical qualities, but then there's like, as a ball handler, reading how heavy the defense is helping, where the help defenders are. And that can inform a lot of your decisions as a ball handler. Am I going to drive, or does it make more sense to create an outside shot? I came up with capture the flag, and I'll talk more about what I was thinking about in a bit. But yeah, just using all these games and different sports to develop general physical literacy that once applied to basketball and actually like explored with, will eventually translate, hopefully, to basketball games, real basketball games. And there's nuance, like we could talk about how much, certain physical qualities, how much transfer certain physical qualities have over others. There's definitely a spectrum, but in that way, I found Cole's presentation really interesting. But the capture the flag thing, I was just thinking about it. Like, I'm sure you've done this. You've played capture the flag and you're waiting for a little bit to seize an opportunity. And then you finally decide, boom, I'm going to go. And like, you run and you have a little bit of open space, but then eventually defenders see you, right? Everybody sees you and they're trying to get you. And you don't have a ball or anything. You don't have anything limiting you from moving. Mm-hmm. It's just you, your body, and the people that are trying to stop you from getting to the flag. And you end up doing the craziest shit with your body, like just like changing speeds, like being super deceptive, like using your eyes to deceive people into thinking you're doing one thing and doing another thing. These are all qualities that we need within the game of basketball that, like, I feel like if we went back to a little bit, players would find it engaging and fun, but we're actually building qualities that are applicable to the game of basketball.
Man, bring me back to those middle school days, dude. We used to play capture the flag like at the end of every day. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, you don't realize how limited players have, like a lot of players have become because of how early they specialize in things. So you got kids who are like, by the time they get to like fifth grade, they're just basketball players. And they're not really out there, like they're not out playing with their friends every day, right? They're not out. And I think COVID definitely made that worse, where you weren't out just like, with your friends every day playing, football, playing capture the flag, playing, whatever sport you might play in your neighborhood. Like that was stuff that I always remember doing growing up. And it has such an impact. And I think like one of the things that, one of the connections that I think players should make, when they think about like, okay, how do I actually become the best player I can be? And I think especially for coaches, like if I'm going to be teaching somebody, like let's say ball handling, for example, right? If we're going to work on ball handling, we're working movement because we're going to work some different stops, right? If we work like a snatch between the legs, that can be considered ball handling, right? But it's more so a movement, right? I'm learning how to stop, how to accelerate and then decelerate. And then maybe out of that, I have to learn how to decelerate, change directions, and then accelerate again, right? That's all movement right there. So like one thing that Mike G at the conference was showing us was tag. And tag is like my new favorite thing now, like because it's literally working those exact same things where we're working a bunch of different stops, right? They don't even understand. Like I put two players in, like I give them a circle to chase each other around. One of them is it, one of them's not. Like they're chasing each other and they're working those different stops. They're changing directions, decelerating. And again, especially if we don't have a ball, there's nothing limiting them. So they're just gonna be able to work on those movements over and over and over again, and get comfortable with them. And then at the same time, we can talk about, okay, now we're working in curved angles as well. So you're able to work that puzzle piece, which isn't something that players work on a ton. It's usually just straightforward or maybe straight to the side, but it's never at that curve. So now we're working a couple of really underdeveloped areas, especially with my players that I work with who are just basketball players, who are just doing the same exact movements over and over and getting really good at some of them, but neglecting a lot that they don't get because they don't play football, they don't play, baseball, they don't play soccer, right? And so I think that's something that's really crucial to understand is like as a skills coach, like you teach movement, like you also are a movement coach, whether or not you recognize that, like that's what you are. If you do anything where your players are movement, you teach movement. So you should understand how to effectively do that. I think doing that through games is a really, really great way of applying that. I just started, it's actually funny. I was thinking about this when I saw your tweet. I just started up a clinic series for some middle schoolers in my area. And I was actually talking to my mom about it last week. She was asking me, was like, oh, what are you guys going to do for the first week? And my mom she's not like a big basketball player. Like she was at every game growing up, but she doesn't really like know the game or understand like the details of it or anything like that. And certainly nothing when it comes to the training side of it. Like that's not her wheelhouse at all. Like not at all. And she had mentioned something just like kind of as a joke. She was like, oh, so what are you guys going to do today? You guys going to like play soccer or something? And I was like, oh, probably not today, but maybe next week. Like we might play soccer next week because it's literally like those are like that, especially at that age, I think just working different movements and then building that engagement, especially if we start off with it's like, hey guys, we're going to 5 minutes of soccer. Right now, all of a sudden, the monotony of like a normal training session, like that's gone because they're like, oh, we're playing soccer now, right? So that I think is another element to that. And that was why I loved Mike G's presentation at the conference where he talked about prime time and just being able to build engagement through different games because that actually makes it a more effective session. If you take 5 minutes to play a game, but it's going to make the remaining 55 minutes of your session really, really high quality. And also that those 5 minutes are going to work movement patterns that are going to make your players better and movements they're probably never going to hit anytime else. Well, why would you not do it? And so that was something that I really, really got from that. And I think when you look at players like Kyrie Irving or, anybody else who moves well, we look at these guys who can handle the ball. Steph Curry is another one, or like whoever that you can think of that like is crossing people up and finishing in all these acrobatic ways. Like, I think a lot of people overemphasize the basketball side of that. And they say, oh, he's so skilled. He's so this, he's so good with the ball. But they don't look at the movements that allow him to actually be able to do that. Like if Kyrie Irving didn't have his ability to decelerate the way that he does, and if he couldn't play at those angles, at those shin angles that he plays at, then he wouldn't be nearly as effective. It wouldn't matter how tight the ball was, how tight his handle was,
exactly
how much spin he could put on his layups. It wouldn't matter because he doesn't have those general qualities first. So I think, again, going back to like kind of the first point that I brought up is like, as a skills coach, understanding the performance side, the movement side, like that's the future because that's where you can really start to build the player as a whole.
Exactly.